Alright, let's dive into this because there's a lot to unpack here, and I think it's a fascinating look at where Florida State football is headed. So, Mike Norvell just gave a pretty extensive breakdown of their first preseason scrimmage, and personally, I think this is one of those moments where you can really start to see the contours of a team taking shape. What makes this really interesting is that it's not just about the plays or the stats, it's about the vibe, the energy, and the little details that Norvell keeps coming back to. In my opinion, this is where you start to separate the teams that are just going through the motions from the ones that are building something special. First off, the hook here is Norvell's emphasis on communication and alignment. It sounds simple, but if you take a step back and think about it, this is the foundation of any successful team. He's not just talking about X's and O's, he's talking about guys being on the same page, trusting each other, and executing under pressure. One thing that immediately stands out is his mention of extended drives and adjustments. This isn't just about scoring points, it's about the ability to adapt mid-game, which, in my opinion, is a hallmark of a well-coached team. What many people don't realize is that these early scrimmages are less about the playbook and more about building that muscle memory for when the real games start. Now, let's talk about the quarterbacks because that's always a hot topic. Ashton Daniels seems to be the guy right now, and Norvell's praise for his command and decision-making is notable. But what I find fascinating is how he's not just handing Daniels the keys, he's pushing him to read defenses, make checks, and trust his instincts. This raises a deeper question: how will this quarterback room handle the unpredictability of the season? Norvell mentions they're installing a big menu of plays, but the focus isn't on memorization, it's on adaptability. Personally, I think this is a smart approach, especially with new coordinators and unknowns on the horizon. Defensively, there's a lot to like here. Norvell highlights the speed and physicality, which is exactly what you want to hear. Ashlyn Barker at the rover position? That's a detail I find fascinating because it shows Norvell is willing to experiment and put guys in positions to succeed. The linebacker room, with Chris Jones and Isaiah Williams, seems to be a strength, and the way Norvell talks about their growth and confidence is encouraging. If you take a step back and think about it, a defense that can swarm and stop the run is going to keep you in a lot of games. One thing that really jumped out at me was Norvell's focus on the offensive line. He's not just naming names, he's talking about their cohesion, their flexibility, and their ability to communicate. In my opinion, this is the most underrated aspect of any offense. If the line is solid, everything else falls into place. Braden Joyner at center, Nate Papp's versatility, these are the kinds of details that suggest this group could be a real strength. Special teams often get overlooked, but Norvell seems genuinely excited about where they are. The punt return group, with Jason Lopez and Devin Carter, sounds like it could be a weapon. And the kick return unit? With Sam Singleton and Micah Hyde-Danzy, there's a lot of explosiveness there. What this really suggests is that Norvell is building a team that can make plays in all three phases of the game. Now, let's zoom out for a second. This scrimmage is just the beginning, but it's clear Norvell is focused on the process, not just the results. He's talking about treating their trip to Jacksonville like a road game, emphasizing the little details, and creating uncomfortable moments to force growth. Personally, I think this is the kind of mindset that separates good teams from great ones. It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about embracing them and learning from them. So, what's the takeaway here? In my opinion, Florida State is a team on the rise. They've got talent, they've got a clear vision, and they've got a coach who's not afraid to push them. Are they perfect? No. But what makes this really interesting is that they don't need to be. They just need to keep growing, keep communicating, and keep trusting the process. If they do that, I think they could surprise a lot of people this season. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.